When we last left off in Dragon Ball Kakumei, Amaran would explain to Dula and Salaga the triple format layout of the multiverse and how these clusters must be respected in order to travel properly from universe to universe. Their mission is to go to the Grand Priest directly at his palace, which is tucked away in a place that only angels should know about. As they travel through the circuit of universes, they rest on planet Rosemary in Universe 4, a questionable decision for someone of the status of Amaran, however. Off on planet Quatella, Lord Quatella would sense this very interesting arrival of Ki in the universe at this time. Even with the darkness from this Ki resembling a god of destruction, it isn't a familiar Ki to him, so Quatella suspects that this must be a god from a resurrected universe. Cognac comments that although he doesn't recognize this Ki either, it is nevertheless lower than Quatella's. The situation does remain worrying, however. Quatella refuses to let another god of destruction run through his universe, so he and Cognac leave out right away to confront them. Back in Universe 11, the Pride Troopers await Gohan's return from a mission he offered to take solo, but when they arrive on planet Grill to go check on him, Gohan has completely changed. Even Dispo would comment on, in just 5 months he looks unrecognizable. Even though Gohan had grown in strength by immense proportions, his heart was still pure, and even in war against terrorists on this planet, he couldn't find it in himself to slaughter them all mercilessly for the mission. He had learned a great deal, however, and his strength is incomparable to before. Dispo, Velmont, and the others all reminisce on Gohan from 4 months ago, now being one of their brothers. However, this is when Jiren steps up and wants to know why Gohan specifically asked for him by name to come when they rendezvous with him. Gohan tells Jiren that it's because of him specifically that he's gradually reaching his goals. Gohan tells them that it wasn't in his mind to come all the way there to them, and he would have continued his studies if the events of recent hadn't taken place. This still doesn't explain why he chose to come to Universe 11 though, so Gohan goes on to explain that he really took interest during the Tournament of Power and especially in their Kaioshin K. Gohan explains to them how Kais have had this explicit hand in his progress in the past, and how his potential had previously been awakened by the old Kaioshin in Universe 7. Somehow, he goes on, even to this day, I indirectly get my power from the Kaioshin, and when I came out with Dispo from the fighting surface, I asked him who K was because, well, I can't really explain it, he finishes. It's as if somehow the Kaioshins are connected to me since I was in their world. He later finishes his explanation of all of this by summarizing that he plans to ask K, who is a special Kaioshin, to complete his awakening, which was done incorrectly by an old Kai who was also corrupted by a witch. His links to Saiyans, Earthlings, Namekians, and Kaioshins have set Gohan up for a perfect awakening, and this would bring us back to the present day. Gohan has completed his mission for the Pride Troopers, but there is still one last test that he must put himself through, and this is why he asked Jiren to be here. As they await the arrival of K, Gohan asks Jiren to fight him with all of his power, and he'll do the same. The man that pushed his father to inexplicable limits is the only one Gohan sees fit to test the absolute extent of his power after training with him. If you guys are excited for Chapter 13 and are loving DBK and all of the Dragon Ball content, be sure to leave a like on the video, hit that sub button, and check out the entire Dragon Ball Kakumei playlist that's up on the screen to catch up. The creators of DBK will also be linked down below as always, so be sure to go give them a follow. Don't forget to follow on Twitch and Twitter as well, but without further ado, guys. As Gohan looked around, assessing the reaction to his words, he would remind them that he has to look for his limits. That's all that matters to him in this fight. Protect this planet and its inhabitants, Toppo tells Makurita, as there's no reason to think Jiren would turn down this fight. Right, she replies. Gohan hovers in the sky as Jiren provokes him to make his move, and Gohan charges in for the first attack, but he would miss his punch with Jiren dodging. Gohan then whips out a galactic donut surprisingly, but before he has a chance to release it, Jiren mushes him in the face with such force that the galactic donut is still where he left it above his head. He would ricochet and combo Gohan all over the corners of the battlefield, sending his body all over the place until finally his face would come into perfect position for a thunderous punch once more on his head this time. The sheer might of Jiren's power is enough to crumple Gohan, and that previous blow collapses him as he writhes in pain. Jiren kneels beside him before picking the nearly unconscious Gohan up by the hair. "I'm completely stunned," Gohan thinks to himself. "I can't move." But before he can even utter the thought, another crushing blow hinders his every sense. And another, until Jiren finally plants Gohan firmly in the ground with a dive kick. Gohan's body bounces off the ground as if it was made of rubber. Surprisingly enough though, Gohan is still able to get to his feet as everyone looks on in shock. He still has more fight left in him. Gohan goes to take another punch, this time an uppercut, but Jiren easily maneuvers around it and clocks Gohan in the face once more. Somehow though, Gohan isn't seeming to take as much damage as these blows might make it look. He charges up a Kamehameha next and launches a massive beam at Jiren. This guy Jiren though completely ignores one of Gohan's strongest attacks and delivers an uppercut that almost decapitates the Saiyan. Gohan would slam into the top of the barrier enclosing them, continuing to take unbelievable punishment. With each time he's brought to his knees, however, he keeps getting back up, and this starts to remind Jiren of a young, determined boy he once knew. In the past, many years ago, a young Jiren would be put through strenuous tests by his master, being put on his backside over and over again, but refusing to give up. Fighting to get stronger isn't enough, his master says. You have to hold on to everything you have to win your fights. "What are you talking about?" a young Jiren says. "I've nothing left to lose. My only family is you, Master Gishin." Jiren charges in again, determined to continue their training, but Gishin delivers a vicious backhand. "You have to fight for your values and those you love, no matter how many there are," Gishin roars at him. "Because the day you really don't have anything, the day you don't fight for anyone, is the day the flame that burns inside you is extinguished. You shouldn't wait until your loved ones are about to die or in danger to fight on their behalf," he continues. "You must be strong for them when the time comes." This would touch Jiren in a way that, to this day, he still remembers this quote. "Why do you keep getting up, son Gohan?" Jiren asks him in the present day. "Because I can still do it," Gohan roars at him. Jiren would then power up even more, prepared to test Gohan with the full brunt of his power, but Gohan doesn't back down. This is when Gohan would get into a stance I've yet to see from him as he gathers massive amounts of energy. Unfortunately, an attack this slow doesn't pass Jiren's test as he appears right in front of Gohan and sends him spiraling with another blow before appearing above him and crushing him again. Gohan would bounce off the ground violently again, but this next attack would be brutal. Jiren's fear-inducing power would prove to be as mighty as it is intimidating, as he simply walks through Gohan, but the amount of damage done in that single second would paralyze him where he stands. "Wake up," he says, as he turns back around to Gohan, who's still coughing up blood. This is when Jiren would go on to say to him that the day an opposing god of destruction confronts you with the intention of reducing you and your friends to nothing, are you really sure that your little speech will spare you? Gohan, completely powered down now, struggles to regain any sense of the word balance. When he opens his eyes and looks to his right, he sees the group of terrorists that he failed to deal with properly returning and about to attack the Pride Troopers. "We have to help them," Gohan struggles to say, but Jiren tells him no and says to trust in his teammates. "You can't do anything in your condition anyway." "Lord Topo," Makurita begins, "why don't you do something for your companions?" "No," Topo says. "Look closely. Dispo and Casserole are pretending to be in a difficult spot." "Of course," she says. "I'll ask you one last time, Gohan," Jiren continues. "Why do you keep getting up?" At first, Gohan seems to not know how to respond to this, but when he remembers all of his friends, family, loved ones, the answer couldn't be more clear. Jiren begins preparing an absolutely diabolical attack now that even Kasura has to turn his attention to and tell Jiren not to go too far here, but the beaming light stemming from his fist would signal otherwise. "I think it's time," he declares. This form of his, Full Power the End, would look to eliminate Gohan with this one final blow as he stands in the wake of unstoppable power right now. Gohan would learn from this encounter, however, and for the first time this battle, he's able to dodge one of Jiren's most lethal attacks. Gohan would duck under and then attempt to return a blow of his own. With everything he's learned and everything he has left, Gohan would throw his final punch at Jiren, only to have it easily dodged once again. But something was different this time around. Gohan would succumb to a light-speed counterattack by Jiren, who would also dodge the blow, but this time he would at least leave a scratch on his opponent. Gohan would finally collapse as Dispo and Kasaro easily finish up with their engagement as well, and even though he may lie unconscious on the ground defeated, Gohan has made Jiren and the Pride Troopers proud this day. And although the power levels and experience throughout the multiverse vary dramatically, as we saw here today, in Toppo's own words, 2 years of preparation for gods who have been training for millions of years is by far too short.